Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Look on the screen. Look on the screen. We see a man that is unfortunately very ill, like he's down for the count. Let me give you a little story time here. So a friend of mine, he has a friend who's also sick, kind of the same thing that my husband has. However, his friend was told that it has gone to what, stage 4. Okay, stage 4, and you do not have long to live. Background on this man is divorced. He has grown children and he has a family. The children do not deal with him except the youngest, who's in her 20s, and she's a college student. Okay. I believe he pays for her college education. So when the doctors gave him this news that, it's bad, it's looking pretty grim, you're not going to be here long, you're at stage 4 with cancer, he then told his family. After he told his family, guess what happened? The family started coming around. It was to a point that he couldn't do some things at the home that needed to be done, like, taking care of himself. He needed help taking care of himself in his day-to-day living process. It was that bad. Okay? The family came around. When the family started coming around, he started acting real mean toward them, cursing and yelling at them. Oh, you don't really care about me. You're only here because you want my money. You ain't worth a darn. But it's like, dude, but you're the one that called the family and told them. So if they hadn't come, would have been a problem. They came, it's a problem. So the family still, and I said, listen, I did some research. I think that's called terminal agitation. So I said, but you understand, this cannot continue. People don't have to show up on their own time, for abuse. They see, okay, yeah, he definitely needs help. Why they didn't have someone from the hospital or hospice, I don't know. Maybe he refused it, I don't know. But he stayed at home. So he was needing help with the day our responsibilities. So it got to a point he was yelling at them and cursing, and I said, yeah, I said that's why nobody is going to be around this dude. I said nobody got to put up with his BS because of this right here. So he went off on his family. Talk about a gold digger. He went off on his family. They asked if he had like his things in order, and guess what happened? He did. He said, y'all can go ahead and go and get out. I don't need you. My best friend is coming. He can see about me. You up for going through my stuff. Dude, your house is dirty. They are cleaning. You don't have the strength, the physical capacity to go ahead and vacuum, clean out the refrigerator, go grocery shopping. You're down for the count again. I'm trying to understand why the hell he wasn't in hospice. I don't understand that part right there. But anyway, he was very rude and very nasty. Got rid of his family. They can go ahead and get out. So it got to a point, fast forward, nobody was there. Everybody's gone. I don't need you. My friend is coming. My best friend gonna come and take care of me. So I knew then, I said, I bet you the best friend is going to be the executor of the will, and whatever assets he had, the friend's going to have it. So guess what happened? He waited and waited for his best friend to show up, and the friend never came. The friend lives out of state, mind you. He waited and waited for the best friend to show up to come and see about him. How about the friend never came? By this time, he's run the family off with his cursings, his rantings, his complaints, talking down to them, just bad energy. That's why I told my friend, I said, listen, I said, you don't seem to get it. You feel sorry for him. Nobody has to show up for abuse. I said, the reason they're not around is because of him. He doesn't know how to accept the help that's given him, but he wants to act a fool. I said, now you understand why everything is strange. I said, it's him. Now you understand those kids been estranged from him. But when they came around and helped him in the end, look what happened. So fast forward, he gets rid of his family. He's waiting on his best friend to show up, who lives out of town, and the friend's supposed to come and live with him until the end, until he transitions over. How about the friend never did show up? He spent the last couple of weeks of his life all alone and doing without and suffering. So what happened was, the friend who, quote, didn't show up, he started calling. And calling. A week went by, and I'm like, it shouldn't have taken you a whole week to know about it. You should have known then, a couple of days, that his papa was gone. So a whole week goes by. The friend spent that week just calling. Really? You didn't? The friend didn't call a couple of days and say, hey, let me call 911, get the police involved for welfare check. The friend didn't do that. No. The friend said he waited. He called for an entire week and didn't hear anything. And then when a friend didn't hear anything, that's when the friend flew down and got to the house and realized, oh no, he expired, you think? No. And I said, wow, look at this. You hear about some drama in his life. What's that saying? Who you are during your life is going to be who you are at the end, but probably worse. Loving drama and confusion and mess. And waiting for a friend that didn't show up. He gonna help take care of me. The friend never showed up. He stayed in that house and he expired all alone. And I said, wow, he thought he had a friend. Why didn't the friend show up? Why didn't the friend say, okay, I'm going to show up? That would have been the time to also get the phone numbers of friends and family. Yeah, that would have been the time to get the phone numbers of the family members to coordinate. Didn't happen. I said, he waited a whole week. I said to myself, he probably knew the first 2 or 3 days, it's terminal. You should know then, he's not answering. He always answers, but he's not answering. You should know then. You didn't call 911 for a welfare check? No. You didn't even think to get the family's phone numbers? But you waited a whole week and just kept on calling. And just my thinking, you probably was waiting and waiting. Wanted to make sure that he's probably gone for you to go ahead and pounce on the estate. And guess how the family members found out? He didn't go through the phone and try to, maybe unlock it or whatever. I don't know if it's locked on it or not, and call them. No, the family members called out. They just happened to, someone happened to call him, and guess what? The friend answered the phone. Really now? They just happened to call the residence. The friend is already in the house and answered the phone. Where they do that at? Oh, he's already gone. He died. I'm making funeral arrangements. When were you going to call the family members? You could have used his phone to do that. The friend answered the phone. I said, wow, look at that. He thought he had a friend talking nasty. Like I told him, I said, people are not going to keep taking this abuse, man. You can't use your sickness to sit up here and talk down to folks and talk trash, talk them and, being mean and cursing at them. He was dependent on his friend. Much to his chagrin, the friend didn't show up. Then, of course, they find out, going through the computer, what have you. Oh, the friend is over everything. So I said, wow, he probably could have lasted a little bit longer. It's possible. But the people that were decent just came there to try to help you. It's common sense to ask if your affairs are in order, you think? They only want my money. I thought about it. Yeah, I think the friend just wanted your money. That's why the friend didn't show up. The friend led him to believe it was coming and did not. Like I said, it took you a whole week to call for you to fly down. A whole week. 2 or 3 days you should have known. Okay, it's been the third day, sums up. And you know the medical condition. So another reason why some people die alone is shenanigans like this here. They are mean and nasty when things are going right. So then when they become terminal, oh wow, it can go really, really bad. Like I told him, I said, this right here, I've been hearing about it, telling me about it. I'm like, this right here, you're putting up with it. And even he kind of fell back a little bit. You're putting up with it. I said, the family, they don't have to. No one has to sign up for abuse. I said, they're not getting paid to be there, trying to clean up the place for them and, maybe get some meals going, help them out. They're not getting paid. I said, he called his family. They coordinated, came over at a certain time. Everybody, let's go to so-and-so's house. And it was on a weekday after work. Let's meet over there. And look what he did. Cursing at him, yelling at him. Okay, let's try it again. They're trying to work out some things like in shifts. So, hey, when can you come check on them? As family should. They only want my money. And the one he put his trust in, the so-called friend, my friend gonna show up. Y'all get out, take care of me. The friend didn't even show up. And I said, wow, look at that. He probably was counting on his last days, reminiscing with his friend. Again, much to your chagrin, with your kind of friend. The friend, I think, is mean and ornery and messy, just like him. He called for a whole week, and I knew. A person that's trying, yeah, you ought to know after 2 or 3 days. Called for a whole week, and I knew. I decided to fly down. You didn't think to call the police for a welfare check? No. Because you must have already had a key. The family didn't even know he was there. They just happened to call the cell phone and he answered the phone. Again, you wonder why some honoring people die alone? This is why. How they treat people. I said, wow, pushing away his family. And I said, wow. And that's when I knew then. That's what I knew. I said, that's why the ex-wife, even though they're divorced, I said, that's why the ex-wife, she never did show up. Because I did ask. That's now you see why the ex-wife never did show up. She'd been married to this clown. She probably had no idea how it was going to go down. But yeah, this is why a lot of people so mean and so honoring, so angry, don't even understand when someone's maybe they're trying to maybe help you. You are already sitting on ready to with the angerness. And you depending on somebody who you thought was a friend. I said, wow, his last days, and it's probably worse. I said, look how he spent his last days. He counted on someone that really didn't count, that really didn't think much of him. Or a friend like that, you don't need an enemy. I said, can you imagine his last days? And he probably thought in his mind, oh, well, I chased my family away. We don't know if he fell down, was on the ground in his bed, all comfortable in a chair. We don't know. But the family happened to call, and the friend answered the phone. I said he spent his last days waiting for a friend that didn't have the decency to even show up. But the friend made sure to show up. Like I said, a whole week. He made sure to show up a whole week. Of course. Let me guess. You're probably making sure, okay, good. He's probably already dead. You worried about the family, which they have a right to this day. Your kids. You worried about the family, and it's your friend. The so-called friend. He didn't get the family any paperwork. That's when I knew then. I said to myself, oh, the friend got the paperwork. Everything is going to this male friend. Everything is going to this male friend. And I thought about when they were trying to clean up, like touching his things, going through his things. He probably thought they were going to find that paperwork. That's just how I think. But you know what? They did the right thing. No one has to sign up for abuse. No one has to sign up for abuse. And look what happened. He was waiting for his friend, how obtuse. Waiting for his friend gonna take care of me. I'll get out. Because it was ugly. That's why when I was thinking about it, I said, this right here. When he pulled that first stunt, it wouldn't have been a second attempt. See, people trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. So you wonder why some of them die alone, men? Mm-hmm. How they treat people. And he died waiting, thinking highly of his friend. He gonna take care of me. And look what happened. He still died alone in the end. He bought this on himself. I said, wow. Disappointed. How long did it take you to figure out he's not coming? The friend didn't care about him. I think the friend was with him, knowing he's mean and ornery and poison his mind. Just wanted to make sure, okay, I'm over the estate, and take what he wanted. Like I said, I'm still trying to understand why it would take you a whole week. You waited a whole week saying you kept calling and calling. 2 or 3 days, you should already know, okay, terminal illness. Yeah, he might be gone, but no. It lets me know I think the friend didn't want to be bothered with him. The friend only wanted to extract the resources, and the fool sitting up there blaming his family. Wow. So you wonder why some die alone? It's how they treat people. He waited for his friend to reminisce, talk about old times. Maybe he was going to pass away holding hands in the company of his friend. It didn't happen that way because the friend didn't show up in time, much to his chagrin, and I'm out. That's what he get.